Hello and welcome to part 31 of my Hogwarts mock series. In this part we're going to be finishing off, hopefully, the Defence Against the Dark Arts classroom that we started a couple of videos ago. That means we've got to return to the Long Gallery, which we have got right in front of us just here. Last time we took a look at Lockhart's office, just to show you where the two things are in relation to one another. So that's the office through there, up those steps and into the pulpit. Now, with the exception of my sig fig, which I may or may not be able to remove, yes I can, off I go, this looks the same as it did when we left it at the end of the, well, not the last update, but 2 updates ago. So we are going to go ahead and add in what are, for now, the final details. First things first, I'll just get rid of the wardrobe, and we'll go back in a second. There's a few details I need to add. Obviously, I need some minifigures, I need the actual lesson to be going on, and there are a few tables and odds and ends and things. So, first of all, I've got these 2 builds. They're very, very simple, so I won't show you how they went together. They're not directly representing anything from the film. They are just, generic stuff that looks like it belongs in a Defence Against the Dark Arts class. Possibly even a herbology class, maybe it's Devil's Snare or something. So we'll just pop these into a couple of the bays where the windows are. This one can go in just here, and this one can go in just over there. And I'll break it in the process, obviously. I'll fix that in a moment. Now, what we're going to need are some minifigures. So we, of course, need our Professor Lupin. Here we are. It's the most recent one that came in the Hogwarts Express set. Then, of course, we will need a Harry, a Ron, and a Hermione. Sorry, these are all a little bit out of focus. Let's try and bring them in. There we go. Just after I've knocked them over. Now, these are using a sort of composite of different pieces. The facial expressions are from Hagrid's hut, as are 2 out of the 3 hair pieces. This hairpiece in the middle is from the CMF Series 1, as are the torsos and the legs. It's just the best combination of things that I like for representing characters in Prisoner of Azkaban. Also thought it was important to include Draco Malfoy in there as well. This is just a figure which I think came in the Astronomy Tower, and which I've swapped the legs out for, so they are the medium posable legs, and I've given him an apple as well. I don't think he was actually eating one in this scene. I think it's the Care of Magical Creatures lesson, but I thought it was appropriate for him to make him look like a bit of a... well, yeah, just a bit disrespectful. And of course, the character that we really need is Neville. And this is the CMF Series 2 version of Neville, which I forgot I'd actually got a duplicate of, which is great. And he has an appropriately shocked expression on his face just there. So I will pop these minifigures into place and also fix the destruction that I did over there. So there we go, everyone's arranged, got Lupin over by the gramophone just there, and then everyone's set out here with Neville at the front. You can just see Harry hiding behind, with Draco bringing up the rear, not paying attention as usual. Just going to add one more detail in the front here. It's just another table with some generic bottles and things on it. Try and get the camera to focus. Is it going to do it? I think it's this low light it's not particularly liking. There we go. So you can just see that printed Transclear minifigure head, which came in one of the recent 2021 sets. It's probably not 100% accurate for this scene, but I think it's a nice little detail, and that can go just there. This is really just to fill space. The room is actually fairly empty, and I probably could put more minifigures in, but I think that might overcomplicate things a little bit too much. And then we can put the wardrobe back in place, just there. Now, obviously, one thing is still missing, and that is our Boggart Snape. Now, this is a little bit of a tricky minifigure to get hold of. There was a previous version, which came out in a set back when Prisoner of Azkaban came out, which is a decent minifigure. It's got the glow-in-the-dark head that they used to Snape at the time. But I really wanted the more modern minifigure that came in set 5005254, which was the Bricktober Harry Potter minifigure pack. It's the only one they've done for Bricktober. I'm not sure if that's still a thing or not. It was released exclusively in Toys R Us, which if you're not in, is it Canada where it still exists? If you're in most of the world, it was released just as Toys R Us went into administration and closed. So people did manage to get their hands on it, but I didn't. So eventually I managed to find one that was courtesy of Jamie, who's a seller I found on Facebook. He's also on Instagram. He is at Minifigures in the Wild. That's with underscores instead of spaces. I'll put a link down below. You should check out his minifigure photography. It's really good, actually, very atmospheric. So I managed to get this from him. I'll just ratchet the camera up a little bit. So here we have Snape. He's not 100% complete, but I did know that. Just a lovely little minifigure, uses the standard Snape facial expression with this hat and then a wonderful printed torso showing the stole that Neville's grandmother wears and, of course, the red handbag. Now, I needed to complete the minifigure, so I got a couple of extra pieces, one of which was this collar here, which I think is more commonly actually seen as a bird's nest that way round. I think originates from Craven the Hunter, and that does come with the minifigure in its original form, so I'll pop that on. But what's also needed, particularly for Neville's grandmother, or the outfit from her, is a bird on the top of the hat. Now, I am by no means the first person to think of this, but there is a bird piece that does fit with this hat, and that is this tiny little crow. Now, this is a very strange piece. As you can see, there's no printing on it whatsoever, but it is very nicely shaped, and its only attachment point is a tiny little mini peg hole, which is probably not showing up very well on camera. There, you can see just there. But luckily, this hat has a mini pig hole on the top, so those will go together very nicely. That crow came out in a few sets. It came out in the Lone Ranger sets where it was part of the Tonto minifigure, and it was also in the Series 11 collectible minifigures Scarecrow. So I will pop those two things onto Snape and show you how he looks. And there he is in all his glory. I think you'll agree that that crow really just sets the whole outfit off, and it is perfect. You can just see a little bit of Snape's alternate expression around the back, but it's not too terrible. I'm going to go with this expression rather than the angry one, just as I think it suits the character a little bit better. Obviously, it's not actually Snape, and it suits the sort of confusion that the Boggart is feeling in the moment. Right, time to put him in the scene with everybody else. And there he is, added into the scene. I have moved the other figures back one stud just to give it a little bit more space, but I think the effect is really good overall. As I mentioned in the first part of this, the Defense Against the Dark Arts classroom build, the wardrobe door cannot open, but I think for the point where he's actually been forced into Neville's grandmother's clothes, having the door closed doesn't really matter. So there he is, looking fantastic. I think the overall scene looks really, really good. I'll just get a slightly higher angle. Yeah, I'm really liking how that scene looks. And I think it's brought the Defense Against the Dark Arts classroom to life, and it's really validated for me using such a large space for it. I was a little bit worried that it was going to be a waste, particularly as we don't have a second floor for the majority of the length of the long gallery. But overall, that looks really, really, really good. So we've made good use of that space, made good use of that space, but we're not quite done yet. We do have that to go, that will be a future video, but there are a couple of things missing in here, and I will show you what those are in just a second. Those of you paying attention to the thumbnail of the video, or who know the Defense Against the Dark Arts classroom well, may have already guessed what at least one of those two builds is. This, of course, is going to be the dragon skeleton that is hung by chains precariously above the Defense Against the Dark Arts classroom, and which is memorably knocked down by Cornish pixies in the Chamber of Secrets, and for some reason they decided it was a good idea to put it back up, and I have checked, it is there in the scene in Prisoner of Azkaban. I think it does disappear from Goblet of Fire onwards, but I would have put it in anyway because it's such a good detail. Now, the pieces in front of you are what I have used to create that dragon, or that dragon skeleton rather. I took some inspiration from the Hungarian Horntail that appears in set 71043 Hogwarts Castle, so that's the micro version of the Hungarian Horntail. I had to be quite careful here. This is quite a small build, and I didn't want it to overpower the room. There isn't that much space, especially for the wings of the dragon, so I think I've come up with a nice compromise, something that looks maybe a little bit cute, but is a very nice Legoified version of that skeleton. So I'm going to build it on camera, or I'm going to at least try to. So if you do want to build along with me, these are the pieces that you need for the dragon itself. There are a few extras which I will add at the end. So, first of all, we have got some bars. We've got 2 4-long bars. By the way, these are all in white, apart from this one transclear piece here, so I won't say the colours. 2 4-long bars, 2 3-long bars, 4 modified plates with a bar on the side, 3 1x1 cheese slopes, 3 Exoforce arms. They have different names, but that's what they originated as. 1 droid body, 1 1x1 brick with studs on 4 sides, 1 1x1 round plate with a hole through the centre, so sometimes called an Apollo stud or a hollow stud, 1 bar with clip, I think it's normally known as. Again, it's an Exoforce part originally, so an Exoforce hand or claw, a modified tile 1x1 with a clip on top, a modified plate with a vertical clip on the side, 2 skeleton arms with the clips on either end at the same orientation, 2 of these bar pieces, or these bar connectors, which have a bar there and a hole for a bar there, 2 of what I like to think as the linked pieces for that, which have a clip and a bar hole, 1 of these dragon fangs or tooth pieces, which you get in lots of different sets, a 1x1 bracket, upwards facing with just a single stud there, obviously the transclear aerial piece, which strictly speaking isn't part of the dragon, but I've included here as it goes with the build, a 1x1 plate with the tooth coming off the side there, a 1x2 by 2/3 curved inverted slope, and a 1x2 by 2/3 curved slope, so the kind of opposite version of the previous one. So they are the pieces you need, and I'm now going to try and put this thing together if I can remember how it goes. So first of all, we will start with the head. Now this dragon in particular, I'll put some photos up on screen, has got a sort of pronounced horn on its nose, and I originally thought about using this fang piece, but I eventually settled on using one of these pieces. Now these don't come with a version that goes upwards, as it were, so I had to build the head upside down. So starting off with that, and then for the curve on the top of the skull, we've got this inverted piece like that, and then to provide a connection to the rest of the body, or by the neck, we use one of these modified plates with the bar on the side. I like to think this also gives some sort of idea or suggestion of eyes just there, where the plate curves in against that square-sided one. You can see it however you like. And then to complete the head, we're just going to use another one of these. I say another one, the opposite type of slope. So there we go. We've got a small dragon's skull, or the beginnings of one at the very least. Now to connect that to the body, we're going to want an actual neck. And for that, I'm going to use one of these clip pieces. So this is the right way up, as it were. So that reverses the direction there. And to add on to that, we're going to put one of these cheese slopes. So these are kind of the vertebrae going down the back of the neck. To continue that on, we're going to want one of these pieces. And then to continue that, we're going to want another clip. But this one is on a tile. So that is your neck, and that will attach to the main body of the dragon. Just put that aside for 1 second so I can show you how to make the main body. The main body, as you may have guessed, is going to be made up of this modified brick with connections on all sides, which is very useful. Into this, I'm going to put the hollow or Apollo stud into the bottom, and that actually gives me a fourth, actually it's a sixth connection point, thinking about it, into which I'm going to put this claw piece. That goes all the way in there, and then I'm going to attach the droid body to it. Now this is a technique that I've basically copied directly from that mini Hungarian horntail, but it works really well. There's a little bit of play in it there, but that's not too big a problem. So this is going to give me attachment points for the neck at the front, which I will put on right now actually. There we go. And it'll also give me connection points for the wings and the legs and the tail, which I will get on with now. So the wings are mirror images of each other, but they are for all intents and purposes, exactly the same. Start off with another one of these modified plates onto which we attach a skeleton arm. It took me a long time to work out these wings. They are quite tricky to get the angles right of the, well, I suppose in anatomy, they would be the actual kind of fingers that would have the wings, strung between them. I always say, bats fly like they're doing jazz hands, and it's the same for dragons, apparently. So onto the skeleton arm, we're going to clip one of these, and then into the sort of hand at the end, we're going to clip one of these. And these are going to give us our attachment points for bars, which are going to be the actual, the fingers that I was just mentioning. So there we go. And then this gets clipped studded onto the main body, like so, just adjusted to the right place. And there we can see we've got a skeletal wing on one side. It's only got two of these bone ridges, these fingers, but I think that's more than enough. So I will build another one to go on the other side. And there we go, that's the other wing. Just to note that I've put the 4 long bars in the outer ones and the 3 long bars on the inner ones, so it just gives it a bit of a wingspan. And you can adjust it, obviously these are clipped in place, but you can move those forward and back. You can spread the wings out, you can bring them in close to the body. I tend to keep them quite close in, just because, well, A, it keeps them neat, and B, there isn't that much space in the actual building for them to spread out. Now, the legs are much, much simpler. The legs are just 2 of the 3 Exoforce arms, and they just clip on to the droid body here. Try and get that actually into shot and be helpful. One there, and one there. So there we go, those are your legs. Can come off a little bit easily. There we go, the legs that just hang down underneath there. And then that third Exoforce arm gets connected there. We'll find that that comes unclipped, unfortunately. Just managed to drop pieces on the floor, but I've picked them up. All is well, I haven't lost anything. So yeah, these are the legs and the tail. Just clip that back together. And then on the top here, I'm just going to add a slope or 2. Just got to get them in the right place. I think I'll pop that one there. And then in the end of the tail, we're just going to add this tooth or fang piece just to finish it off. So once I've put that back together, it's not the sturdiest build, I have to say. It's fine for some static display, but it's not going to hold up to much else. So there we have pretty much the dragon. It's a little bit nose heavy, but it's actually standing up okay at the moment. Now, these last couple of pieces, they are kind of part of the dragon. They're kind of just an attachment point. Just pop them together like that, flip the dragon over, and then place this on here. Now, the reason for this, I suppose it could look a little bit like a rib cage or something like that, but the actual reason for this is to provide an attachment point for this. So this aerial goes on there, and the reason for that is this enables the dragon to actually stay supported in the air. Now, before you say, but oh, it's supported by chains. Yes, it is. It very much is, and don't worry, I haven't forgotten that. However, the chains mean that this flops about all over the place. It can pull pieces off, so I thought it was easier to have an actual connection point here that keeps it up, and then the chains can be purely cosmetic. Speaking of which, I've already put this together. We have got a 4-long reddish-brown bar with 3 of these chain pieces. They're the shorter version, connected like that in the middle. And all I'm going to do is slip these down the outermost fingers, as it were, breaking everything in the process, as usual. And this will be these will be the connection points for the chains on the dragon. So there we go. So we now have our hanging dragon. Just give you a bit more space there, so you can see that it doesn't hang very nicely either. That's the other thing. Depending on how you adjust the head, it hangs all right, but it turns, it moves about, and I'm sure it'll shake itself to pieces. So I will pop this in and show you how it connects. I'll connect it properly using the TransClear aerial first, and then put the bar in. I've just swapped out what was a 1x2 brick in here for a 1x1 modified brick with a stud on the side and a normal 1x1. So the end of that TransClear aerial just goes into there. Really a little bit careful, as I've showed, this is quite delicate. That goes all the way in. There's just room there for the, managing to break it again, saying there's just room for the tail when it's curled up a little bit, and also the wings on either side. There we go. And then, this looks very sad. And then this bar here will just go into a Technic pin that I've inserted in there. Now, the chains are a little bit slack. This is kind of unavoidable, unfortunately. I can make them a little bit more taut by turning that, but it doesn't look the best. But I'm happy with them how they are, to be honest. And there we go, there is a dragon skeleton. But I don't think it's quite finished yet, and that's because it's missing something. Now, this is, not correct, as it were, but I couldn't resist. We got those wonderful new moulded Cornish pixies in the Chamber of Secrets set, and I could not resist having one in the scene. So this one is going to go on this stud that I've left vacant on the back there, and maybe he's about to cause some mischief, we just don't know. So there we are, that is the dragon. If you want to build it, obviously you can follow along with the instruction video that I've just kind of done, and I hope you'll agree that it looks really, really good in situ above the Defence Against the Dark Arts classroom. We still aren't done though, because there's one more thing I've got to add. I won't go through this step by step though, because it's a lot simpler. This is another detail that I noticed is in the Defence Against the Dark Arts classroom, again hanging from the ceiling, and this time it's a candelabra, and here we have it. This is a very simple build. It's literally made up of a ship's wheel, and in fact, this one came from the Harry Potter Durmstrang ship set, just a random little tidbit. It's the only one I've got that isn't on my Black Seas Barracuda, Pirates of Barracuda Bay set. So all I've done with this is just used these pearl gold clips and then 1x1 round plates with the hole in the middle, and then put candle flame pieces in them, and then it's just a Technic piece, Technic pin, and then a bar, and then another one of those clip pieces on the top, and that slides again into the middle of a Technic piece and just hangs there. I may add some chains in future, but for the moment this looks really good, and yes, it does spin around, but unlike the dragon hanging on the chains, it's not going to wobble too much when I move it, so I'm not worried. Well, there we go. That was a little bit of a long video, so I apologise if I've prattled on. Just thought it would be interesting to show you how the dragon was made. So, what do you think of my Defence Against the Dark Arts classroom now that it's finished? I say finished, you can always add things to it, and if you've got any suggestions, then please let me know. Thank you very much for watching. If you have enjoyed it, then please leave a like down below, comment, I'll do my best to get back to you, and subscribe to my channel for more videos. Thank you again, and see you next time. Bye.